Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024. It is Thursday, August the 8th. It is 4:23 p.m. in the Eastern Time. I am Dave Bryan from SteelersDepot.com, and with me, as usual for all podcasts, is the great, the one and only Alex Kozora, fresh off yet another trip out to Saint Vincent College in Latrobe. Alex, happy Thursday evening. We get real Steelers football Friday night.
We do, and knowing that Thursday's practice was very low-key, very, a walkthrough essentially the day before the game. Sorry if you hear lawnmowers in the background. The lawn guys are here for me. But yeah, we'll get some actual football to replace a pretty quiet day on Thursday.
All right. As we like to do in every special edition of the Terrible Podcast for training camp, shout out to our sponsor, Touring Plans, touringplans.com, Lynn Testa and the fine folks over there. Alex, give your spiel. Tell them about Touring Plans.
For sure. Longtime sponsor of our Steelers Depot training camp coverage, Lynn Testa Touring Plans. If you're planning an upcoming trip to Disney World, Disneyland, or Disney Cruise Line and want some help and advice, check out Touring Plans with them. You'll receive access to a crowd calendar to know the days and times when the park is the busiest, plans to avoid waiting in line for hours and hours, insider restaurant reviews, how to save money on tickets, and tips to have overall just the best experience possible. So, planning a trip to Disney, this is the team you want to work with. Reach out to Touring Plans at their website, touringplans.com, and we thank them for their continued Steelers Depot training camp sponsorship.
We absolutely do. All right, Alex, today's show is probably going to be a lot shorter than the other ones. The team basically had a glorified walkthrough today, so we're probably not going to go through position group by position group. We're going to probably do a quick kind of overview of what Alex observed today. But before we do that, some housekeeping, and we have a transaction to talk about that transpired before practice got underway today. And give us a health update of guys that weren't doing much of anything, or maybe some guys that were back doing a little something.
For the transaction, that is safety Jalen Elliott, who is familiar with Pittsburgh. He's bounced on and off their roster, got released last in the spring. He is back now to replace the waived injured Nate Meters, who suffered a hamstring injury. Unfortunate for him because Meters was having a pretty decent training camp and somebody I thought that could make a practice squad push. So that is the roster move there. Elliott wearing number 34, and Easton Gibbs, who wore 34 yesterday, has switched now to number 40. So when you watch the preseason, just a quick programming note on that front. Health aspect, that's really one of the main things to talk about today. Braden Fehoko did not see him, suffered a left arm shoulder injury yesterday. Alex Highsmith remains out with a groin injury, seems minor, but he will not play. That's been confirmed by Mike Tomlin for the Texans exhibition opener, and did not see Marcus Golden either. So it doesn't look like he's going to go. We'll see, but does not look promising for him against Houston on Friday. Some guys getting half days or rest days. Cam Haywood, rest day. He won't play against Houston. Say Malu got a half day. TJ Watt, a half day. Deshaun Elliott, who got nicked up a bit yesterday, he did practice in full. Did not see Dean Lowry today, but Cordero Patterson continues to ramp up and do some pretty spirited sprinting on the side. So I'd love to get him back next week. Not sure if that'll happen, but he's getting closer and closer.
All right. As we already mentioned, and we'll start recapping this more in the Friday morning regular version of the Terrible Podcast, and that will include a lot of what Mike Tomlin said the other day. We'll kind of recap some stuff that Alex has seen the last couple of days in training camp. We'll talk about line rotations, probably we expect to see, and obviously Mike Tomlin has already essentially ruled out 7 players for the game against the Texans Friday night. We expect that list to obviously grow. You just heard what Alex said about the team and the health of the team. So as we get closer to kickoff, I don't know, that 7 might grow to 13, 18, 19. I don't know, but we'll be passing along the word in real time, both on Twitter/X and SteelersDepot.com. All right, Alex, give us an overview of what you observed today and things that stuck out.
Yeah, again, not a whole lot because of the real low intensity nature. Scout team work, Pittsburgh even running a 4-3 defense at one point because that's what Houston runs. And so you're just trying to simulate some of those looks. A lot of the starters not getting full reps, although Russell Wilson, because of the nature of the practice, did get to work, his most amount of participation throughout training camp so far, although it was a real, again, kind of low key type of practice, but he got a ton of reps and threw the ball fine. There were some miscommunication, but he's working with guys like Jacob Copeland, occasionally some third teamers. Generally, the way that it went, especially later in the practice, was a quarterback would take maybe half the team period, get 6 or 8 plays instead of just 4, and then rotating in every 4 after. So you're mixing in with some more of the third string offensive line and third string wide receivers. There was one play where Copeland didn't know if he was in the rep or out of the rep, where to line up, and stuff like that. Interception on a pass that Copeland didn't seem to see. That was Graylin Arnold picking that off. Calvin Austin had a catch downfield from Fields, 30 yards or so. So that was nice. But again, these are all generally uncontested. And then Peyton Wilson did have a really nice play, getting zone depth and tipping away a Russell Wilson attempted pass. So those were kind of the highlights of the day. But again, this was not really about evaluating or analyzing or competing. It was just about some scout team stuff and getting prepared and being healthy and feeling good for Friday's game against Houston.
All right, what did the top 2 line rotations look like? Broderick Jones slip in at left tackle again a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Sayamalu was rotating in and out, and so you have to consider that. But the first team O-line with him was more Sayamalu, Herbig, Daniels, and Broderick Jones, and then Spencer Anderson will get some left guard reps. I mean, the way it should go tomorrow off the top for Pittsburgh, because Sayamalu's not going to play, will be more at left tackle, Anderson left guard, Herbig at center, Daniels at right guard, and then Jones at right tackle. Second team O-line was Dylan Cook at left tackle, Mason McCormick left guard, Zach Frazier at center, Spencer Anderson right guard, and Troy Fautanu right tackle. So they weren't doing the whole Fautanu right tackle thing. That should be the second team line when those guys come in against Houston. So you're kind of preparing in that fashion for the game.
All right. We'll pontificate on Friday morning about whether or not we'll see Jones at left tackle. Maybe as part of after Moore leaves a handful of snaps. I don't know. We got plenty of time to talk about that.
I mean, just to give something to talk about, though, Broderick Jones speaking after practice, and it sounded a little frustrated on his part about not knowing where he's going to play and what the team's plan is. And he said, he'll play wherever he needs to play and help the team. But he even sounded a little frustrated, not sure of their plan.
I guess we'll find out, won't we? We'll have something to talk about either way coming out of this Friday preseason game. Either he's not going to play any at left tackle, or he does play some at left tackle. And we'll go from there. But but the caveat also being that there's 2 more preseason games after that.
Yeah, I imagine he'll get some left tackle work against Houston whenever the second teamers come in. Then Jones will probably flip over to left tackle, and Fautanu obviously will play second team right tackle. I mean, Dylan Cook will be there too. Maybe you do a drive or 2 with Jones at left tackle. Again, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. But even beyond the Texans game, it just kind of sounded like a lot of the flip flopping that Jones has done. He said I'm the right tackle right now, but didn't really seem confident where his role was going to be. Say come week 1.
Sure hope we get to see more than just 1 series of Justin Fields.
Didn't Tomlin say a couple of series? I mean,
but he said so. I mean, I suppose if they go down on a 13-play drive and bury it in the end zone, he looks good. Maybe he jumps out of there. I don't know, but Mike, you can't always trust Mike Tomlin telling you how many series a guy is going to play during a preseason.
Sure, and there's ebbs and flows, and like you said, game circumstance. It could be more series technically if they're short for whatever reason, 3 and outs, or you saw last preseason with some really quick scores. I mean, I think he'll play the majority of the first half is my expectation as things stand right now.
All right, I hope so. anything out, any other kind of overarching thoughts from today? Because really, we don't have a lot to talk about today, do we?
No, we don't. Thomas Graham Jr. felt like he was getting some second team slot corner reps over Graylin Arnold, and that was maybe a difference from early on in camp. I know Arnold missed some time, but he's coming back and he's been full the last 2-3 days. So I want to see. I know Beanie Bishop will be first team slot corner for the game, but I want to see who comes in second team. Will it be Graham or will it be Arnold?
All right. All right, I guess we're about out of things to talk about. Well, like I said, we'll be back on the Friday morning regular edition of the Terrible Podcast. That'll be more in depth. We'll talk about several things that we're looking for specifically, players, pontificate more on playing time on players, and obviously get deeper into kind of analyzing what we expect will happen Friday night against the Houston Texans in Pittsburgh. The weather's supposed to hold up tomorrow night, as far as you know.
I think they're calling for rain basically all day, so it might be some weather conditions to deal with. And camp's been dry overall, so that's kind of going to be a new element for this summer, at least for the team to deal with. But we'll have to check the forecast tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. With that, we'll go ahead and wrap this special edition up. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com. Find the ad-free button in the navigational bar, and then follow directions that way. So, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024 with Dave and Alex.